Okay, so here's our final video on my 1990 Bronco II 4-liter swap. The motor came out of a 92 Explorer automatic Explorer Sport. I already showed the videos how I had the wiring going here, how I had to splice in from the power distribution block. It's all cleaned up now, mostly wired in, or split loomed in. I'm going to clean it up a little bit better. I'm going to run these two wires from the amp and the overhead light into the junction box. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. For ease, I went ahead and did a conical filter I had laying around instead of that stupid box. It didn't come out of the Explorer very well. The little split tabs broke and everything, so I just didn't want to mess with it. I'll clean all that red wire up and get it in some loom. Truck runs great. I have no complaints. It's got plenty of power. I've never been able to drive on our freeway going uphill without shifting up to third. And yesterday morning on the way to work, I never came out of overdrive. So only thing I haven't hooked up yet is the AC, and the AC off the Explorer was pretty nasty. It had black stuff in it and whatnot, so I'm gonna get myself a new line before I hook that up. So this is all the wiring on the driver's side. I utilized the Bronco and Explorer harness, removed the pins with picks and reinserted them into the right place. So everything's functioning as of now. I did have a check engine light this morning and I scanned it, and I had actually forgotten this vacuum actuator here. I saw the clip, but it's also the same exact clip that is on the brake master cylinder, so I just thought the difference in years, they tied in different. But this damn thing had fallen. The plastic, that terrible plastic they use, had cracked and it had fallen off to the side when I was pulling the motor. I never saw it. So when I was trying to run between the two vehicles and figure out what that was for, I just thought it went to the brakes. So I'm going to go ahead and fire her up, let you hear it. It sounds pretty good. The exhaust was made out of a bunch of crap I had in my backyard, a little Flowmaster muffler. It actually sounds pretty decent for a 6-cylinder. So and I haven't gotten around to the brake light or the rear anti-lock. It's been a pain in the ass since '93 when we bought this thing. So it idles out pretty good and sure runs great. So only thing, that wonderful power steering line, I have bled and bled and bled that. It's a new pump, new lines, and it still whines like crazy. So a buddy of mine who's a real mechanic, not a backyard guy like me, said that if you replace this line with a steel line that doesn't have this valve, that'll go away. So I'm going to try that next, see if I can get away from it. So here's the wiring schematic that I used. I got it either off the Ranger website or the Bronco II forum. I'm not sure which one, but so on the power distribution block, all I did, as I said before in the videos, was match up the fuel relay. So the black and yellow, black with a yellow stripe, black yellow stripe, that one was easy. Headlights both brown, so it's pretty similar on this other side here. There were a few things on the Explorer that I didn't have to deal with that I originally was going to, and that's the alternator field, because I went in after I cut the Bronco headlight wiring harness after all that and utilized the Explorer stuff. So this is what I used, and when I first looked at it, man, it was sure a lot going on. Credit to whoever did this. I probably wouldn't have been able to do it without him. But just looking at it, like I said, I'm a visual guy. If there's some drawings out there with plugs and stuff, and they're better, but for me, I'm not trying to insult the author of this, but they didn't pertain to my truck. It was a earlier model Bronco. I think it's on the Ranger forum. Great guy drew the plugs and the shape that they are, and he just did a great job. But what I did was I utilized this, and I found plug 136 female 8-pin gray, and then was able to isolate that because it had 5 wires going into it, and just used the pick method where I opened up the connector, pulled the red thing out of the middle, and plugged them where they needed to go. And you can see, other than my amplifier wires and my LED light bar, that I don't have any miscellaneous stuff hanging around. It was easier for me to print this off than trying to look at it on my phone while I was trying to build this. So yeah, it came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy. Like I said, we've owned this Bronco since 1993. Drove it all over the country. My brother drove it all over the country while we were in the service, and while he was working on the oil rigs. So it's been a great truck. Now it's got a new engine and new clutch. Everything's new rings, bearings, gaskets. So a little bit of work left to do cleaning it up. Next I'll attack the new tie rods, inner and outer, and put a steering stabilizer on it. Like I said, this Bronco is going to my son, so I want him to be safe in it, which was my reason for getting rid of the 2.9. There was nothing wrong with it. It ran great. Just didn't have enough power, and I was worried about him pulling out in front of somebody and not having the power to get out of the way. So if I can answer any questions for you, feel free to hit me up. I'll do my best. Like I said, this is my first one. Here's the old 2.9. It was a good motor, man. Like I said, it drove me and my brother all over the country. No complaints. The only thing we ever did to this truck was a clutch about, I don't know, 99, 2000, somewhere around there. And oil changes and tune-up. It was a great truck. I can't complain. So, like I said, thank you for checking this out. Thanks for the comments, those of you that have commented. If I can help you in any way, let me know. The only problem I have at the moment is that I'm running an automatic computer in this, and the only code I'm getting now is the automatic transmission codes it's looking for, and it's not there. So I'm going to keep my eye out for a 5-speed. I recommend, if you do this, try and get the harness of the motor you're using. If you got a 5-speed, try and find a 5-speed out there, or an auto if you're using an auto. When I was running the wiring down to the transmission, I had a heck of a lot of trouble getting the pigtail that runs down to the transmission to read my manual transmission. So I got lucky and found the transmission harness in a junkyard and picked it up, and that made my life a lot easier. I spent a couple nights out here trying to get it to start messing with the wires from the automatic harness, and it just wouldn't work for me. So if you're going to do this swap, do a 5-speed. If you're doing a 5-speed, do an auto. If you're doing an auto, try and stick with that. Thanks again.